Thank you, Madam President. Very, very important debate on Iran. We know, and everyone knows for years, that Iran is sponsoring terrorism. That's obvious. Let's talk about those who let Islamists and terrorists into Europe. Who's responsible? Leftists. Who's responsible? So-called Democrats. None of you in here, just a couple of you, not many. You know why? Because it is a shame for Europe to let terrorists with the floods of illegal migrants into Europe. We are having this debate, and in the same time, Mayor of Warsaw from EPP is about to let and rent another flat and another building for the people from radical Muslim Brotherhood. They are connected. That's what we heard from the media. It's your man from EPP. So we are having a discussion on Iran. We should have a discussion on illegal migration, radical Islamists who were let in Europe by leftists and by so-called Democrats. But we, conservatives, Republicans, will save Europe, Mr. Commissioner. We're going to save Christian Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Colleagues, the right won the election. Securing the border, once rejected as heresy, has become mainstream. The Council, even the Commission, recognized the need to prevent illegal entry, host refugees outside the EU, and swiftly deport illegal migrants. But will the European Parliament defend Europe or open the floodgates? On Monday, this House rejected the left's attempt to control the debate on migration. Now, they will use their superpower, their unrivaled ability to whine and cry. For the past decade, this House has indulged the left. Colleagues, we cannot afford to lose another decade to leftist tears. There is a right-wing majority in this House to stop illegal migration, stop asylum abuse, and stop the weaponization of migrants. It's time we use it.
The Pact on Migration and Asylum is now EU law, and we are very much focused on the implementation. I've proposed in my letter to the leaders to do this along different action points. First, indeed, there is the internal dimension. We are ready, if necessary, to accelerate the implementation of the Pact for Migration and Asylum. This pact has been constructed in a very balanced manner, responsibility and solidarity. So if we accelerate, we have to make absolutely clear that this balance is kept. But today the focus was more on the external dimension. So first of all, on the comprehensive partnerships with countries that are neighboring the European Union, third countries. We see that these partnerships are working. If you look at the central Mediterranean route, which we have been working on intensively, overall the arrivals are now down by -64% in the central Mediterranean. We also have been working intensively on the whole topic of visa alignment, here specifically with the Western Balkans, and this is successful too. The irregular arrivals from the Western Balkans are down by -77%. We also have taken the alignment with the visa policy of the European Union into the reform agenda of the Western Balkans to make sure that we are fully aligned.
It was always very clear to us that more would be needed to secure our borders and increase returns of those who do not have the right to be in Europe. The EPP want to be very clear with what we expect. A speedy and full implementation of the Migration Pact. A new proposal on returns presented within the first 100 days of the next Commission. Increased cooperation with third countries who should also explore new solutions like return hubs outside of Europe. And we need a stronger Frontex, and the instrumentalization of migrants that we see from Russia and Belarus, we need a full stop.
Good morning, everyone. Pleased to see you here. My name is Johan Forssell. I am the new Minister for Migration from Sweden. Needless to say, this is a very important topic for Sweden and has been so over the years. Not only when it comes to the fact that we have received so many asylum seekers over the last 10 years, but also the fact that we have invested heavily in the new Migration Pact. And that is one of my main priorities here today, making sure that we implement this Migration Pact and that we do it in the correct way. And I'm looking very much forward, of course, to hear other thoughts about this from my new colleagues. In addition to that, one of the key priorities for Sweden is also to have a robust return system. We need to make these returns work. They don't work today. The latest figures from Sweden is that 3/4 of all asylum seekers in Sweden, they will not be granted asylum. Too many of them will not leave our nation. And I know that this goes for many other nations too. I think we need to have a very innovative look at this. I think we should use every tool that is in our toolbox here in order to have this cooperation with many of these nations. For example, when it comes to the fact that not all of them will really accept their own citizens, and we need to make this work. In addition to that, also we need to do more to put pressure on individuals to respect the law and return home. And of course, the update of the return directive is essential from this aspect.
One of the main discussion points was a common approach to returns. Today, we see that all those who have no right to stay in the European Union, only 20% of those who have a return decision really are returned to their countries of origin. So we're working to improve this operational work, and we will soon present a new proposal, legislative proposal for that. We had one from 2018, but it is stuck in Parliament and Council. So we will come with a new proposal for returns. In this context, we also discussed innovative ways to counter illegal migration. And there are different options that have been discussed. First, the need to review the concept of a safe third country. What is a safe third country? How is it defined? Second, the idea of developing return hubs outside the European Union. It's not trivial, but it has been discussed. And very much also in focus the work with the UNHCR and IOM on what they call a whole of route approach. So speaking about migrants that are stranded, for example, in Northern Africa, to support UNHCR and IOM to return those migrants to their countries of origin, of course with financial support from the European Union.
I think immigration will be the main topic. I would like to convey my satisfaction regarding the fact that the European Union appears to be addressing this particular issue with the seriousness it requires. The chairwoman of the committee sent a letter that describes very specifically the actions that need to be taken. The actions are being taken by the European Union, and it is encouraging that, at last, within this framework of discussions regarding immigration, the topic of Syria is included in the discussion as well. At the beginning of this endeavor, only 2 or 3 member states were adamant about the necessity to touch upon the topic of Syria. Currently, there are double-digit numbers of member states that align with our approach. Regarding this matter, a preparatory meeting will take place, organized by the Prime Minister of Italy, to set the stage for further discussions. Therefore, I am pleased to see that there is now a serious approach being taken by the European Union regarding this matter.
We also need to continue, and we've discussed that here in this room a lot, to tackle the smuggling and the human trafficking. Here the legislation is 20 years old, so we have now a new proposal on the table, and I hope we can advance swiftly on that one. This is all the topic irregular migration, mostly triggered by smugglers and traffickers. A completely different situation is the pressure that Poland is experiencing at the eastern land borders. And before Poland, it was Finland, it were the Baltic states. What we see is that Putin and Lukashenko are exerting pressure on us, trying to undermine our security and our territorial integrity. These are hybrid attacks by state actors. And therefore, Poland and other member states need to be able to protect our union from these hybrid climate attacks. Same goes for Finland and the Baltic states. They have to be able to take measures that are temporary and appropriate. We are working on that with Poland right now. We have been working on these measures with Finland and with the Baltic states. This has taken a broad room also in the discussion we had today on migration. Overall, it was a very constructive and comprehensive discussion that we had. Thank you.
I am confused. I listened to the Commissioner from our socialist colleagues having a very constructive and balanced approach to migration, doing more to counter illegal migration, working harder to improve returns, an agenda that was embraced also by the European Council last week, including all the socialist leaders there. And then I listened to the leader of the socialists in this House, and I only hear no, no, no. It's all extreme right. Is Ms. Dalli extreme right all of a sudden? Is Prime Minister Sanchez extreme right? Let's embrace the fact that leaders actually from left-wing to right-wing governments, from east to west and north to south, came together on an idea that more commitments are necessary. Indeed, returns are down, arrivals have been down in the past years because of the very agreements with third countries that you so fiercely opposed in this House. So yes, this is not about burying the pact. It is about implementing the pact, but also realizing that more is necessary. As President von der Leyen wrote, we cannot be complacent. The pact is a huge achievement, but we need to do more, especially on returns. 1 in 5 people who are told to return actually go back to their country of origin. In 2023, this was 350,000 people. Also for the colleagues on the left, if we want to keep public support, if we want to keep resources for taking care of real refugees, we need to improve this, and we need to do it together in a spirit of compromise. So let's put new ideas on the table, like the Council said. Let's dare to think outside the box, and let's do it quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Dear colleagues, Russia and Belarus are exploiting migrants in an attempt to destabilize the European Union. They are sending people illegally across the border into the European Union, challenging, threatening our security. This is a danger for the security of the European Union. We need to recognize this and we need to act on this. Whatever is illegal has to be tackled. The European Union needs to stand up for the rule of law. We need to defend the rule of law. Illegal migration is to be tackled. This is why a proposal on returns is to be welcomed. We are now seeing an instrumentalization of migration against the security of the European Union, with a clear attempt to divide us by the autocracies around the European Union. Russia is trying to instrumentalize migration against us through Belarus towards Poland. They will not hesitate to work with countries that are close to them in the Middle East and in Africa to continue to instrumentalize migration. We need to recognize this. We need to protect our borders properly. We need to protect ourselves from autocrats who are trying to destabilize our democracies, and we need to protect our external border as well, so that the freedom of movement inside the European Union can continue. Thank you very much.
Dear Madam President, if you want the European migration policy to be fair to those who need protection, it should be firm and effective to others who don't have the right to stay. Almost half of the people who arrive in Europe do not receive asylum status. And last year, less than 20% of those with return decisions were actually returned. And yes, Commissioner Dalli, we need to do more. Returns is the missing puzzle in the European Union migration policy. We need a new and effective return policy, but we also need the right approach. Lessons must be learned from the Italian-Albanian deal. Such deals are expensive and ineffective and open the door to legal challenges. What is most worrying, some member states see this as a way to avoid the implementation of the Migration Pact. Instead, we should focus on working with countries of origin, establishing sustainable partnership and implementation of the Migration Pact without delay. Thank you.
Migration has always existed, albeit it's a changing phenomenon, driven by new opportunities for movement, but also by a changing geopolitical context. With the Pact, we took several steps in the right direction, and making it work is a top priority. We must be ready to adapt our management of migration to new realities. Cooperation with third countries is an important element of our comprehensive approach. We need to further strengthen this aspect if we are to prevent irregular migration and fight smugglers successfully. The Return Directive was adopted 16 years ago. During those 16 years, our migration situation has obviously changed. Our practices and operational reality have evolved considerably. Some member states are calling for exploring possible ways forward as regards solutions, like the idea of developing return hubs outside the EU. The Commission will continue to explore possible ways forward as regards the idea of developing return hubs outside the EU, especially in view of a new legislative proposal on return. But let me stress, important attention will be paid to the respect of fundamental rights when considering measures such as return hubs. Exchanges with international organizations such as UNHCR are taking place to make sure international law and the principle of non-refoulement is always respected in all cases. The Commission will build on the achievements of recent years to ensure that we stand fair and firm on migration, addressing with European solutions what we all agree to be a European challenge. This is what the European citizens expect, and we will deliver. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Another important day here at the JAI Council with important topics on the agenda, such as our return system. There's a saying that goes, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and that's specifically true for the European return system that needs to be improved. It is divided today, so today we are discussing here the improvements for our return system, and I will plead for a revision of the return directive. This is really necessary. First of all, we need faster procedures for those that pose a security risk to our countries. And secondly, I think we need to introduce an obligation to cooperate with the authorities on return in our legislation. I have recently done this in the Belgian legislation, so I think this would be a good example to do this in the European legislation as well. And then we will also discuss, of course, the situation in the Middle East, both from a security as well as from a migration perspective. We all know that conflicts are a major driver for migration, and this puts a lot of pressure on our borders and on our asylum systems, which are already overburdened. So it is really crucial that we address the root causes of migration and that the EU provides humanitarian aid to those that flee conflict in the region. So I will inform my colleagues that I'm particularly concerned also about the situation in Lebanon, and that we need to address this together. Well, there are a lot of weakest parts in the chain. We see in the numbers that we really need to improve the return rates. We need to improve our own legislation, and we need to improve the cooperation we have with third countries. And to do both things, we need to address this united as a European Union, so that we do not have 27 different return systems. We need one robust European return system, and we're working on it. Well, I think we have to be united on our migration system. We have a European Migration Pact. This is the most important priority, is to implement the Pact, and all European member states, Belgium as well as the Netherlands, are now working on the implementation of the European Migration Pact, and that is my answer. So thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye.
If you liked the video, please like and subscribe to spread more awareness. Share your thoughts in the comments below and join the conversation. Your engagement helps us bring more content to light. Remember, stay informed, stay engaged.